Hey everybody, welcome. We're going to get started here in just a minute. If you don't mind dropping where you're joining from. And yeah, Libby asked she's curious. She's where she should go on her next vacation. So tell us what the weather's looking like where you are. And also drop any questions that you have in chat and we'll get them lined up to get started here in just a minute.
Deep technical knowledge and we have a lot of broad business knowledge, and our approach is to try to bring those things together.
There's like the HR talent experience team and then there's the IT team, and they're always butting heads like this. Prime for siloed people, cliques, and people talking around each other, and there being rumors, so it doesn't feel like a cohesive team a lot of the time.
The team that's focused solely on traditional IT is not positioned well to help with how technology could be more strategically used in the business, right? They care about desktop support and making sure that the network is secure.
Giving them a tool doesn't make someone successful. Being able to use that tool to solve a business problem is what makes them successful.
Where we tend to focus is kind of that layer above, where we try to take all of those technology and those tools that you have as an organization and help you leverage them at that business user level, so that you're effectively accomplishing your mission in the most efficient way possible.
Because you want every employee, from a person who's managing an office all the way to somebody out in the field or even executive level, you want all of them to be working together.
How do we optimize them? How do we bring them into a technology world where it can do things for us instead of relying on a manual process?
What I care about is that you have the right tool for the job. And so to that end, we're going to evaluate that and tell you, no, don't do it with that tool. If you're able to use technology more effectively, the people that are supposed to be focused on the mission of the organization can actually do more missional things because the tech is handling the rest.
Having a successful outcome of the project, there's no question that we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. We set ourselves up as an organization that is our focus. That's our guiding light. And so it pervades everything we do. Bulb Digital helps organizations transform their business using technology.
We help businesses use technology better so that their people work better together. Hey everybody, welcome to Office Hours. We are excited to see you all. This is what we do the first Wednesday of every month. And really, it's just an opportunity for us to spend some time with you all, learn what's going on in your workplace, see if there's anything that you're stuck on that we can help get you unstuck with. And yeah, just be able to be in community together. A couple housekeeping things before we get started. My name is Mitch. I'm joined with Mike here. And we are streaming to both Teams and YouTube. So if you have a question and you would like to come off mute in Teams, you can raise your hand and we can do that. Otherwise, you can use the chat, as well as over on the YouTube side, you guys can just drop questions in chat. But I would view anything in the realm of Microsoft 365 or workplace strategy, technology strategy, all those topics as good ammo for us today. One thing my marketing team told me to talk about in this intro was our new scorecard. We have a new tool where the way I've been phrasing it is a lot of people that we talk to just don't know what they don't know when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to Microsoft 365. And we wanted to shortcut that. We wanted an easy way for someone to go in and say, I'm doing this, I'm not doing this, and be able to get a result within a couple minutes to be able to see, what's going well and what's not going well, and where they should start focusing. And so you kind of get a fun little throwback to when you were in school. You'll get a score across a few different areas. And you can find more about that at bulb.digital/scorecard. So Livy dropped that in chat. Cam, if we could copy that over into YouTube, that would be lovely. And they could, drop in there too. If anyone fills that out and has questions about it, that would also be a good topic in this office hours as well, that we can, work on how to get a perfect score, right?
Well, how to get a perfect score, but it might highlight an area that they didn't know they had a question about.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That's great. So with that said, like I mentioned, if you have anything that you want to ask about, please drop that in chat, and then we'll get to them as they come in. So we have a couple questions that were asked ahead of time that I'll get to here in just a minute. But let's take one from Corey over in Teams. Corey from Atlanta. We might be in Atlanta in a month or so.
Shout out to all my peeps down in the ATL.
Yeah, that's great. We might be going to a conference here next month down there. So let's see what Corey asked. Is it a good practice to bring an external vendor/PM into our internal Teams project channel? The vendor PM only uses email to communicate with us.
Love the question.
Yeah, I would say it depends. Like we put an asterisk on anything. The real answer, I think, is it depends on how long you're going to be interacting with them for. If they are used to using email and it's a short-lived thing, then just keep using email. Go through the extra step that it takes to pull in their emails into your channels where you can be talking with your own team about it and getting consensus on things. But if you see it as a long-term, like this person's going to be around for a while, this project is multiple months, and it would be really great if we can consolidate that communication, then by all means, you can bring an external vendor, a project manager. Sometimes we have created a private channel for those instances where they don't get access to all of the channels within the team. They get access to just one that we call out as like, this is with the client. We name it something like,
external collaboration or whatever.
Yep.
Right?
And so that's something that we've used before and have seen success with. But a lot of times, if something is more short-lived, it can feel like more trouble than it's worth to ask someone to communicate in a new way that they're not used to, in a place that they're not used to looking. So there's some hurdles there, but it's definitely worth it especially if they're used to using Teams already and you're already using Teams, like bring those things together and get talking in the same place.
Now, I'll add one more layer to that, and that is if you're going to have a longer term relationship with that vendor, and it's a good relationship and you're just going to be working with them for the foreseeable future, you might consider looking into what's called a shared channel. And that would allow you to have a more tightly integrated connection between your users and the vendor's users. And so certain vendors can be allowed actually into your team's environment and into that shared channel. And the benefit of that, Mitch was kind of talking about, if somebody's not used to seeing something in a certain place, they might not catch it and respond. But the benefit to having a shared channel is that any messages you send to that user or tag that user with will actually show up in their environment, in their teams, as opposed to as a message on a chat that's in an external channel for them. So it'll be a more integrated experience ultimately for them. And then when you're doing that, you want to pay attention to who declares that shared channel or who owns it. So if it's your project data, for example, you want to own that shared channel so that you own all of the data that gets collected or the content that gets collected in that channel.
Yeah, it takes a little more effort from the IT side of things, but it is really nice where that channel appears to be native to both parties' tenants.
Right.
Like it's alongside their other teams. It's not in a drop down in a different,
Switching the organization
Right,
or
right,
whatever.
right.
Yeah.
So that can for sure be helpful. Hopefully that helps, Corey. Feel free to follow up if you need anything else. I'll prompt you again. If you're just joining us, welcome to Office Hours. Mike and I are spending the next hour here just talking through any questions in regards to Microsoft 365. So we'd love to know what you've got going on in your world, and if there's anything that we could help with, you're more than welcome to drop questions in chat. And the other thing that I urge people is oftentimes people will think their question isn't worth asking, and it's like not technical enough or not challenging enough. We try to eliminate that and say, just, there's no dumb question, get it out there. We're more than happy to talk at whatever level that you're at coming into this conversation. So the next question we have is from Sachi. She's in our community. She asked, what do you think is the minimum every employee should be able to do with AI tools at work to stay productive and use them responsibly? And for those who got the basics down, what next? So let's do that in two parts. What do you think is the minimum every employee should be able to do with AI tools at work to stay productive and use them responsibly?
Well, let's first define AI tools, right? So we could be talking about external tools like ChatGPT, right? Or some of the other chatbots, or if you're talking Microsoft 365, you're now talking about Copilot, which has a license that might be required for it. Do we want to stay inside the confines of one world, or?
No, I think she's using the term AI
generally.
I mean, on purpose, vaguely on purpose, because it's about how to use AI.
Yeah.
Obviously, Copilot comes with the structure around making things a little more secure, that you don't have to worry about people giving it data they shouldn't be. Maybe that's the first thing, is if you're using an external tool, to recognize it's an external tool. So anything that you give it, you are technically sharing with an external party.
With the world.
Yeah, so you have to consider either sanitizing your data, like getting rid of people's names, or it can do great just with the general, I'm talking about a specific use case, which is like rewriting things or helping give an initial response to things, or structure something that you don't know exactly how to structure, and you can use it. This is something I do often. Paste it in there, get rid of any unique identifiers, and then take it, translate it back into my system, and add the extra personalization.
I know when I think about like the baseline AI functions or features that I would want for all users, it would be things like summarizing content, access to be able to do research on things, automatic response suggestions, rewriting or rewording content, things that you're drafting. Those would be some of those basic levels. Once you jump into like app dev and stuff like that, there's all kinds of other, you ought to let your developers have access to Copilot to help them build expressions or something like that. So that's definitely a thing. But then the other big area for just regular users would be some of the features that we see with Copilot now, particularly when integrated with Teams, and what you get when you record and transcribe a meeting, and the ability to take meeting notes automatically, summarize those notes, build a list of actionable tasks or action items at the end of the meeting, and distribute those. Like all of those things, it would be great if everybody who ever has to be engaged in a Teams meeting had the access to those tools. But I would say if you had to focus those on specific users, your project managers, your project leaders, project leads, that type of user would benefit the most from that additional level of functionality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those, because she's not using the term Copilot, it's one of my things that she might not be able to benefit from that because it's an external tool.
It could be Otter, right?
Yeah,
there are other AI tools that you can invite to meetings.
Sure. Yep. So that's a low-hanging fruit. And yeah, so just to recap, it's like starting things, getting I help it, I seed an idea to it of, I have this very general concept, help me structure it into a thought. That can help a lot for employees not start with just a white page of something. And then rewording things so that it's more, professional, casual, empathetic, right? Stuff like that. It can help with. And yeah, beyond that, for those who've got the basics down, what's next? It's starting to, like Mike said, I don't think you said this. It's starting to figure out how to integrate AI and its abilities into your actual business process. Mm-hmm. And that is more challenging. It's a bigger jump to start building things like agents that can help actually play the role of what someone might do as a typical business process.
Yeah, that's a bigger task because you're building something for a more specific purpose.
Yeah.
And the general AI bot isn't going to necessarily solve that problem the best way for you until you give it. You need to train it, right? That's the term.
Yep. So hopefully that helps. That's our off-the-cuff thoughts on AI tools in general. Feel free to add any follow-up questions or clarifications. We do have another question over on the team side from Marcia. Marcia says, if I link a Word doc in a Loop page, is there a component I can add that can extract out the reviewer's comments into a table in the Loop page for tracking status of comment resolution? The answer is no, unfortunately. The automation and data side of Loop is rather lacking right now. They actually just removed the ability to add rules to a table to notify people when things happen, which had some mixed feelings about. But yeah, there's no way to have a system generate something in Loop unless you're using Copilot, which is built into it.
Yeah, I might turn that scenario around on itself and suggest, and I don't know if this would work well for your scenario, but I might suggest authoring your content with Loop and then putting that content into Loop components and then sticking those Loop components in your Word document. Mm-hmm. And then you can facilitate comments and completion of or resolution of those comments inside the Loop page itself. As people author those Loop, the content in the Loop components, then it automatically updates the Word document. The Word document is just the delivery vehicle at the end of the day, and Loop is where you spend your time, which in my opinion is a nicer tool to use anyways. You may have some formatting challenges ultimately when you go into that Word world, but then you could probably solve that with another tool once the content's done.
Yeah. I would the first question I would ask, which it might just be yes. If it doesn't need to be printed, it doesn't need to be in a Word doc. But yeah, okay. So if you're saying for lawyers, odds are there's going to have to be stuff printed out. So yeah, you're more trying to track a review process for documents. How might we go about that process of facilitating that? Can you think of other ways?
Yeah, I mean, the one that comes to top of mind would be, I have those documents in a SharePoint library, which you may already have, but then you can build a simple approval process and even a status tracking capability with metadata columns on that document library so that you can track who it's assigned to, what the status is, you can have a history of notes where people have said, I don't like this phrase, can you please change this, kind of a thing, and then they can be assigned to different team members, and they'll get a notification when it gets assigned to them. It'd be a little bit more formal of a process as opposed to comments inside of the document, but that would be a fairly simple way to set it up.
Yeah.
And if you did it that way also, you would have version history would be collected inside of SharePoint, so you could go back to any version of that document that you needed to. That would probably, if I'm thinking about legal documents, I might consider doing it that way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's for sure a world where we want Loop and SharePoint all to play along a little bit better together that it doesn't quite do today. So SharePoint has been around for a really long time. Document management in SharePoint has been around for a really long time. And so that's probably your best bet when it comes to something formal like legal documents. Cool. I think that's all the questions that I saw. So yeah, I would, again, just prompt everybody, if there's something you're working on that you are struggling with, or, we're in the tail end of the year. What are you trying to get done before the end of the year? What's stopping you from doing that? Is there anything that we can help with? Otherwise, I'm sure we can pull stuff.
I was going to tack on to the AI conversation, something I forgot to mention.
Oh, she did respond. She said, "Thank you. We have several employees who are hesitant to use any AI tools, Copilot or ChatGPT."
Yeah. Well, tell those folks that if they're using, this is what I was about to say, if they're using any kind of search engine at all, Google, Bing, whatever it is, that first result that they get is usually an AI generated response. And so they're using an AI tool, like it or not. And I think that's going to become the way of the future. I've got a blog and a video coming up that talks about this a little bit, but it's becoming ubiquitous with any kind of search that you do. And so rather than entering keywords, getting a pile of results that you have to sift through and kind of ascertain what is the best result, you're going to get an answer from Copilot or Gemini or whatever that chatbot is. And yeah, you still need to review it, make a judgment as to whether or not that's accurate, but more often than not, it's a pretty good answer because it combines a number of those results into a single answer. And it tends to be a pretty good answer. And it also tends to be more conversational in nature. So instead of being just raw data thrown at you or raw content, people are going to become used to having a conversation with that bot or with that agent, which ends up just being an overall nicer user experience. So that's something that people should expect to see coming in the next year. I mean, that's what everybody's going to shift to. And so your ability to, put a series of good keywords together to get a good result is valuable. And now that's going to be shifting to your ability to provide a quality prompt to that agent, whatever that agent is.
I agree. AI has, AI chat has replaced my use of search engines. So maybe that's baby step number one of encouraging them to try to use one of those tools instead of going to Google next time. Because I think the summary that I would give is instead of it giving you results, it gives you an answer. And that can be really helpful because it integrates all those results into one thing. So, yeah. It reminds me of, we were planning a camping trip and we had a big list of things that we needed to pack, and it was like stream of consciousness. Here's everything that we need to bring, but it was not useful for packing anything or like making sure we have the same types of things accounted for. And so my wife was like, okay, this is not great because it's not categorized. And so I went in and I said, I was in Notion at the time, and I said, can you categorize these? And it did it in like this. And she was like, there goes my job. That's what
That's
bad. Well, that was the initial reaction, right? Of I have that as a skill, and now that is using that skill. But now she uses it more as an asset. Like she can add it to her little arsenal of tools. So,
which that is, we've made this point before, but people should not be scared about AI taking their jobs. If they learn how to use the tools, then they can just get 10 times as much done.
Yeah. Yep. Have AI help you.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a couple questions over on YouTube. I see Kathy joined us. Hey, Kathy. Good to see you. She asks, is there any way to save a prompt library for Copilot? I tried asking it, but it didn't really give me a good answer. Also, when should I switch to GPT-5 versus 4?
So for the first one, I don't know that.
Do you have an answer?
It's a hunch, but I think at probably an admin level, you can define some just general prompts for Copilot chat. But then I do know for a fact that when you're building Copilot agents or when you're building other agents, like for example with SharePoint, when you define those agents, some of the things that you can provide are like pre-built prompts or suggested prompts for people to use. So if you're building an HR agent, for example, that is focused on employee forms and resources on your intranet site, you might provide some specific prompts that give users a quick way to select something like, what is the PTO policy for my organization? Or how do I formally request time off? Or something like that. And then those prompts can be selected quickly, but then also answered effectively through that agent. So that's definitely a place where you
From the organization side, I did just find the individual side. If you are in the chat, I can't show my screen because there's things I can't show on the screen. But if you go into chat in Copilot and then expand the prompts down below the chat, you'll see at the very bottom right is a button for prompt gallery that you can pick, and it'll give you suggested ones, but there's another tab which is your prompts. So from there you can pick different, so you can save your own prompts. So if I go to,
which would be personal, right?
Right.
Right.
I wish I could.
The question is, can those be promoted to an organization level?
Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm reading this as she wants her to have her own little bag, toolbox of prompts. So if you hover over a chat that you put in a prompt, there's a little like bookmark button that says save prompt. And so that's where it gets saved. So then second question, when should I switch to GPT-5 versus 4? And then Ian had a follow-up. I consistently use GPT-5 on almost every prompt in Copilot. There was some initial concern when it was first released, but I find the model performs very well for a majority of my prompts. Yes, generally speaking, I agree. Originally, when 5 came out, I felt like it was a little too fluffy. Like it wasn't quite as tactful as I wanted, and it felt a little unaimed. But I feel like that's gotten sorted out. What I definitely encourage is if you're doing anything that is work grounded, use GPT-5. It has produced a lot better results for me than 4. And I think it's really interesting that now this is another category of something that we have to keep track of is 4 better than 5 and what works? Like,
I'm pretty sure
it's going to keep changing.
It will change, and there will be new ones.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you were to ask Matt Dressel if you were in the room, he would say 5.
Sure.
Without
yeah.
hesitation.
I agree with Ian. It seems good to me. It's not like, especially with web results, it's not night and day difference to me, but it seems to have made a good impact on the work side of things. So Kathy says bookmark, yes. Love it. Okay, so glad we could steer you in the right direction. I have yet to build my own little toolbox of saved prompts. I feel like I should do that because I repeat myself every so often.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. Ian has a question.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject, do y'all have a recommendation for text expanders to assist with adding prompt structures?
I don't know. I'm on Mac, so if you're on Windows, I don't know if they have the equivalent. I use an app called Rocket, where I can set up my own text expanders, and basically anytime I do the colon signal, I can type in things and have it come up with emojis or different shortcuts. Like common one is my 30-minute link to Calendly, like where people can book time with me. I find myself needing to insert that often, so I just do :30, and it'll like pull up my 30-minute one. And then you can disable apps that it works in because you don't want it to show up everywhere. So that might be something to check out. Again, I don't know if there's a Windows equivalent, but yeah. Example, think hard or confirm your answers. Yeah, like the things where you're like, okay, AI, I know you can do better than that. Double check, and you want to give it explicit direction, and that could come in handy for sure. Mike's looking for it. Yeah, okay, so there's different tools. I don't think that specific one exists.
No, that one does not exist for Windows.
I just
But
noticed you used
Copilot's-
Copilot to do that instead of.
Copilot suggested a number of other ones, including one called Beef Text, which just sounds interesting.
Huh. Yeah, it's a whole world of like personal productivity that that you can get deep into. I'm just poking around my installation now. I just found the actual site for it. Yeah, it's Mac only. So sorry, I'm not useful in that world.
Everybody switched to Macs.
Yeah. The only way you get good text expansion is on Mac. Sorry. I've thought about at one point, like, should we build our little collection of helpers that we have as a resource to our daily work and
Toolkit.
provide those.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And maybe we could provide that in the community.
Yeah.
Be
Put it behind the
an
paywall.
added benefit.
Yeah. Anyway, no, thanks for the question. Hopefully you're while we don't have a direct recommendation, it's definitely something for you to consider. I hadn't thought about that, but maybe I'll add my own version of that to mine too. We don't have any other questions. I see we're about halfway, so I'll just reset the room and say, hey, welcome to Office Hours. We're Matt and Mitch. Oh my gosh, I keep
Matt today.
I'm so used to introducing Matt and Mike. Yeah. Anyway,
It's okay.
Mitch and Mike from Bulb Digital, and we are excited. We do this the first Wednesday of every month. We just set aside an hour for us to say, hey, come in our door, hang out for a bit, ask us any questions you have, and see if we might be able to get you unstuck on anything you're working on in regards to Microsoft tools or workplace strategy and all things like that. So if you have any questions, drop them in chat and we can, dig in as they come in.
A couple more questions just came in.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do first?
I think Corey was first, so let's do Corey's. Corey says, what are some underutilized features in Microsoft 365 that could significantly improve operational efficiency or communication in a campus security/police office?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Campus security police office.
You think about it from the business process side. I'll think about it from the communication and collaboration side. Some of it might not be new to you because I think you have dug into the course and everything, but for sure, topic-based communication is helpful when you need multiple people to have eyes on things, and it's a little bit of an unknown as to who's going to be available like if there's time-sensitive things that happen, it's a lot easier to post in a channel that people can, raise their hand and account for, rather than you trying to send it to people individually. And then the other stuff is, I think that's the main one. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
On the business process
Go
side,
for it.
like when I think security office, in particular, like campus security, I think of like we're going around and doing locked door checks, just like general building security, maybe security camera maintenance checks, things like that. All of that stuff could be tracked with some sort of task management process, where you might want to or need to audit that data as well to know that it happened, or who did it, who did the check on Friday night, the 22nd of May, and so all of that stuff could be set up with some sort of business process, maybe an app, either with SharePoint as a backend or more preferably Dataverse as a backend, just as a way to track all of that information. It strikes me as that might not be something that is that either is costly to purchase, maybe off the shelf, or maybe there isn't something that exists already, but that you could easily do inside the Microsoft 365 world. And then other things like for a regular police office, if you're booking criminals or you're processing people, right? Entry and exit of individuals, there might be checklists associated with that. So I think of, like, I hate to call it this, but like onboarding, right? When we do onboarding for some of our customers, or we help them with that, there's a process there. You're tracking various things. You're making sure, they get what they need, and all the boxes are checked. And that would be another process that you
So
might.
we have a client in the legal world.
We
Can you
do.
think of anything? And they went from email only to Power Apps, model-driven apps, like automations, tons of stuff. Can you think of anything that they did that was the most transformational?
Well, the thing that allowed them to transform the services that they're delivering is simply moving away from keeping track of everything in an Excel document and moving into a world where they had a relational database with a cloud-based application and processes around it with all kinds of automation built into it. That allowed them to expand their team and keep all of their processes standardized, like by the book, doing the same thing no matter who was looking at it. And that allowed them to move beyond a world that was just overwhelming for 3 people in a spreadsheet into a world where they could process literally like 10x more cases than what they were doing. And that allowed them to grow their organization significantly.
Yeah. Sweet. No, thanks for the question. Feel free to add any follow-ups. We have Kathy over on the YouTube side. Oh, he did say good points, gentlemen. Thank
Tracking
you.
vendors.
Tracking
is another one.
vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sort of relates to the should we integrate people into our own communication systems or not? Yeah, we've also done things when events happen and they need to be resolved or communicated about. That's one other thing we've done is using things like adaptive cards in Teams when important information needs to live somewhere that people can see it and talk about it.
And even respond to it.
And respond to it right within the context of where they're working.
Yep.
Is for sure an opportunity. What's an example of something that happens that can get responded to, just to give them some context? Is there a good example?
In the police
Yeah.
world? So an example from our experience with this one particular customer is simply notice that somebody is being released from a facility and that they need to have an ankle bracelet attached.
Yeah.
Right. And letting the team know who's responsible for that, and then giving them a place where they can actually respond with the details of that installation, when it's going to happen, who's going to do it, and then ultimately, once it's complete, who did it, when it happened, all of that kind of stuff.
Great. Kathy asks, a while ago you did a video about Teams versus Slack. Do you feel like one is better than the other? We have Slack and Microsoft 365. With all the integration into Microsoft tools, are we giving up a lot by not using Teams? Just know that the answer that I give now pains me a little bit. But if I was starting fresh or did not have a lot invested into Slack, I would 100% use Teams. The way the distance it's come, maybe let me give some jabs to Teams along the way. The years it's taken for it to get even close to up to par with Slack has been long, but it's pretty darn close now. A lot of the quality of life features that existed in Slack that were not even concepts in Teams have gotten resolved. You can have different formats of channels now. The tenant switching is a lot faster. Like new Teams is just a lot faster all around, and a lot of the features that made me super opposed to Teams have slowly been folded in and make me hate it less. And so, like you said, the integrations make it like we gotta bend a knee to the Microsoft overlord and benefit from the integrations. Like there's no doubt that the integrations are helpful when you have a team set up with all the tabs, a planar board, a loop workspace, all the meeting notes and files and everything. Like it is definitely valuable compared to what you can get out of Slack. Similar, but it's definitely not as structured and integrated. That said, we are still using Slack today. I would say the number one reason is because it is, some of our people like it still, and it's fun to be not drinking 100% of the Kool-Aid of Microsoft all the time. But I think the bigger one is it's a lot to migrate, and we have a ton of history in Slack now. And so we are victims to that like data, that sunk cost.
I think there's one more reason, and it helps us justify why we haven't tried to figure that particular problem out, and that is we have customers that use Slack as their primary thing still, and it's okay. Like we don't mind using Slack to communicate with them, and so it just depends on your industry and what you do. But if you have that scenario, you might just have Slack hanging around that you have to use, or some other tool for that matter.
Kathy asks, on the topic of Teams, given the change to channels and chats, can you make an update to the video from late last year of how to manage projects? It's all our, everything packaged up of how to use Teams. And there was nuance around how to add a loop workspace, and like you needed to add people to the workspace, whereas now it's integrated better into Teams. And now there's changes in channels. I'll say maybe Emma did a great job with that video, and one of us will have to one day step up and play that part of teaching those sorts of topics. But it's definitely changing and evolving, and that content is not evergreen. Even the version that came out years before that one still gets traffic. And so it's like there's everything has a life cycle. There's probably a time where we'll do an update. We try not to run that rat race of making sure everything's up to date all the time. Otherwise we'll lose steam a little bit. But appreciate the request, and we'll add it to our list to update. Mike, you have an update to record too.
I do.
There's some Power Apps
Power
tools
Automate,
that now works differently, all that stuff.
Yep, for sure.
Next
question.
Let's go over to Corey again on Teams. Which Microsoft tool would be best for tracking vendor info? So think like rep, name, phone, email address, vendor number, etc. Should I use Microsoft Lists or another tool? I want it to be on SharePoint so it can be shared regardless of whether I work here or not.
SharePoint's
Throw
the
that
right
one to
answer.
you.
Yeah, I think SharePoint's the right answer. I would, so it's a list just the same basically, but you can create a list inside of a SharePoint site collection. I would just be a little bit choosy about what SharePoint site collection you're doing that in, because that will dictate who has access to that list of vendors. And so you just want to make sure you put it in the right place. But you can certainly build a custom list to track all of those elements and attachments and anything else you need to put there. And then if you really need to go to a next level and relate that to, let's say, other detail records like orders or something like that, you could create a related list and have a lookup to the vendor. So you can get a little bit more advanced with it, but that would certainly be a place to start, and that would be free for everyone to use.
Followed close behind, I'm sure, Mike, you're holding yourself back of talking about your love of Dataverse.
Dataverse and model-driven apps.
There's an implication there of if that data needs to get integrated in other places with other tools and start to live beyond the context of here's my list of
Contacts.
vendors, you might want to consider Dataverse, but List is a great place to start.
Or if your organization just happens to be paying for Power Apps licenses,
Sure.
the premium connector license, or premium Power Apps, then Dataverse away.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Cool. Thanks for the question. I see he's typing, so we'll get back to that in just a second. Kathy asked a related question for project management. With the changes to Planner, is it now good enough to replace an outside program like ClickUp or similar?
That's a good question. I still, you probably have an opinion on this.
You can go first.
Yeah, I'm not real enthusiastic about Planner still. It has some work to be done.
Yeah. It is definitely to a spot where you could say, I can do my job in this tool. But dependencies exist. If you use Planner Premium, you can make task dependent on each other. But even Planner Premium has its hang-ups. It is not up to par with something like ClickUp or Asana or Monday. It's definitely one tool of many in Microsoft's portfolio, and so development of that has been
Lacking?
slow
Slow?
for a
Yeah. Even if
billion dollar, or they're not trillions, are they?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. For that large of an enterprise, for their project management tool to be actually related, they announced the retirement of Microsoft Project Online.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that's an indicator of they see a future for Planner Premium, but they're two things moving at different speeds that odds are you're going to run out of time with Project Online if you use it. Planner Premium is going to be okay and you'll get by, and then Microsoft will say, hey, look, all those people moved over to this tool, check the box, and it's done, and then it'll just sit again. Cam says 3.8 trillion. So yeah, trillions of dollars. They could, go a lot farther.
Tell them how to spend their money, right?
Yeah, just listen to us, you guys. Ian says, I found dependencies in regular Planner. If you select the project manager template, it injects Copilot. I think it's in preview, so I'm concerned if I'll lose access without Planner Premium. Yeah, you
might be using Planner Premium.
Yeah, I think you might be using Planner Premium. If you have the timeline and the people, I can't remember all the different, let me look. Basically, it unlocks some different views of the project. It's spinning. You don't have the Gantt chart view. Okay, so maybe all this stuff is moving a million miles an hour. They very well may be promoting use our project manager AI tool, and so they give you a snippet of how to use the tool, and that comes with a couple features, and then they're going to try to sell you into the bigger one. I don't know. There's multiple levels of Planner license, but hey, maybe that's a good workaround if you can use that. I haven't found the project manager AI tool particularly helpful, so hopefully they make some improvement. That's definitely where they're marketing right now. Let's see. Corey has another question. Love it. he says, I'm new to SharePoint. Would I, hold on, time check. We got 9 minutes left. So if you have any questions, get them in now so that we can get them lined up and try to answer before the end of the hour. Corey says, I'm new to SharePoint. Would I just be creating a spreadsheet of vendors on SharePoint? Or I think you mentioned a collection site. I need more guidance on what that is. Thanks.
Good follow-up question. So if you wanted to do it with a spreadsheet, you could. You could upload a spreadsheet to a document library in a SharePoint site, and that might suit your purpose. That would probably be an even simpler way. However, if you wanted to do what I was referring to, you would want to do so in a SharePoint list. And a SharePoint list is just another container of data that you can create inside of a SharePoint site or site collection. The SharePoint site collection, the way to think about that is the highest level SharePoint container that you can create. And so that'll be something that'll have a specific URL and can usually is just a single site. And then under that site, you'll have one or more document libraries, and you can have one or more lists that you can create, but you can create those custom lists or custom document libraries within that site or site collection. And that container is important because that container is where you're going to define who has access to everything in the container. And you're going to define that at a few different levels. There are going to be owners. There are going to be members. So owners can do everything. They're administrators of the site collection and everything in it. There will be members. Members can essentially contribute or edit content that's in that site collection. And then there will also be visitors. And visitors can just read the content that's in that site collection. And so for something like a vendors list, you might create a site collection, call it sites/vendors, like my vendors site. And then you could create a list inside of that site that would be your vendor contact details or something like that. And then you could share that site with everyone in your organization as visitors, and then they could all see all of the vendor contacts from that list. So that would be just a
speed run of
how to do
SharePoint from Mike.
Yeah.
Give a like and give a thumbs up for Mike, given the quick spiel. That's good. Yeah, there's a lot to SharePoint. It can feel overwhelming, but yeah, the core is you create a site collection and you create a list on that site collection and store it there. Then you can give other people access. Callum over on YouTube says, can you differentiate the use cases for loop pages/spaces, Copilot spaces, and notes for project management and teams? Okay, good question. So there's this is another moving target from Microsoft. They're for sure leaning towards the Copilot, being able to create notebooks and be able to create pages while you're in Copilot. Basically, nothing in that world right now is organization based. It's all based on you and your account, and it's not stored somewhere shared. And so anytime we see features like that in Microsoft, we say, try to avoid them if you can for the benefit of the organization, and see if you can do it in a more organization-based tool. That said, I believe they're working on ways that you can collaborate in some of those things, but I don't know much about it. The loop pages and spaces I view as a far better candidate for project management. So when you think about spinning up a team for the purpose of project management, you create a team, you label it according to the project. You can then click add an app, and then Loop will show up as an option there, and that's what creates a Loop workspace where you can create pages inside there. And that directly integrates right in Teams. You can click that tab and it shows Loop right within the interface there. So it's definitely closer tied to that purpose of I'm in a shared space, we're building and collaborating on things together. So that's that use. Again, back on the Copilot side, I view it sort of as like my helper, my Copilot, my personal helper. So notebooks are for my use. pages are for my use. It's not really something to be shared. And so, again, we usually try to resist some of that paradigm as much as we can. But at the same time, it's fun to experiment with new Microsoft tools. And so we've been playing around with it a little bit as well. Ian says, yeah, Copilot pages are not fully baked. I just ran into an issue this morning when I was trying to export/convert to a PDF, much prefer Loop. Yeah, like under the hood, it's using Loop, but it's using it within the context of your personal workspace, basically. So they're definitely seeing the benefits of Loop and the tooling that they've created, and they're trying to integrate it in their AI platform. So time will tell as to how that kind of settles out and how fully baked it gets. Cool. We are right at time, basically. So I wanted to give one last chance if you want to drop a question, but a couple things for you before you go. Like I shared earlier, if you are wondering, how is my business doing with the Microsoft tools, and you want to spend 5 minutes to figure that out, we have a scorecard for you to use that's been linked earlier in chat, where you can answer a couple questions, and it scores you across, I think, 5 different areas, and you get an idea of, in our eyes, what you should be working on versus what's working well today at your organization. So go check that out. The only other thing that I can think of is we've been seeing good feedback about our foundations course, which is super exciting. Kathy says she's afraid of the rating on the assessment. Hey, I mean, nothing. It's good to have in your back pocket, maybe, when people are looking at you saying, "What should we do?" or "What do we need to work on?" So I have the answer. So back on the foundations, it's been really exciting. We're evaluating ways that we can help broader audiences use it. So if you have any, thoughts about, I took it, I wish my whole organization could take it, but there's not a good way to facilitate that, we would love if you could fill out our newsletter. Fill out our newsletter. Sign up for our newsletter. We're going to be starting some conversations around how we can help facilitate that here in the next couple weeks. So that is at bulb.digital/newsletter, and we can continue the conversation over there. Yeah, Livy got the link over in there. That's great. Let It Vern. We got 1 minute. Let's see how far we can get. Let It Vern. The run as user option is it only available for manually triggered flows? I'd like to use it for sending emails where the signatory should be the person who triggers the flow. I'm trying to avoid sharing the flow as much as possible, so I'm looking for a way to make this automated while still achieving that goal. Is there a workaround for this?
It is not only available for manually triggered flows. So for pretty much any flow that gets triggered by a process or a change in SharePoint or something like that, you can go to the run only users properties of that flow, and it should have the essentially the connections that are there, and you can either specify use the owner, use the account that I created this flow with, essentially. So use my user, or maybe use a service principal or service account user to run those connections or to use those connections, or you can leave that to its default setting, which will require the user who you share the flow with to basically set up a connection to that flow, or to configure their connector, so their Outlook connector, for example, so that they can send email, or so that the flow can send email on their behalf. So that's how that is supposed to work. And then the other question that's wrapped up in there is, like, how are you sharing the flow? So I'd like to avoid sharing the flow. That can depend on what the flow is doing in terms of how you need to share it with them, or what environment it's in, and whether or not they have access to that environment. There's all kinds of other factors there that we probably don't have time to get into.
For next month on Office Hours, on that note, we do this again once a month, first Wednesday. If you want to sign up for our next one, head over to bulb.digital/office-hours, and we will see you again then. Thanks so much for the time. It's been great hanging out with you all. Feel free to give us a ring if you need help with anything. Thanks.
Thanks, Mitch.